What is up, guys? In today's video I'm going to be going over my favorite loadout, or what I think is the best loadout in Fortnite Zero Build after we've gotten several updates and several items added to the loot pool in Season 4. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what your favorite setup to use is. So, like the video I made earlier this season, I'm only going to be using 2 weapons, 2 utility items, and then heals. For the weapons, I still prefer to use the Sovereign Shotgun and the Striker AR. Because of the way the War Machine hover jets impact this season, almost every fight versus a decent player, somewhat late into the game, obviously people have a hard time getting it, but almost every fight versus a decent player this season in Zero Build, they're going to be jetpacking around with the War Machine hover jets. So the weapons I choose are the ones that I feel like are best at playing against that. On paper, I think the Gatekeeper shotgun is a much better shotgun than the Sovereign shotgun. But with how fights play out this season, the fact that the Sovereign has better mag capacity at 6 by default, you can't even change it, and reloads 1 shell at a time, makes it much more forgiving for any time you miss a shot. And I feel like I'm going to be missing shots a lot more this season in shotgun fights because of how chaotic the movement is with the hover jets. I'm going to be jetpacking around, and that can cause me to miss shots. My opponent is going to be jetpacking around, and that can cause me to miss shots. Also, the range on it is really good, especially when aimed in. And with the Gatekeeper shotgun, any shot you miss or any shot you get subpar damage with is really detrimental because it only has 5 rounds with drum mag, 3 by default. And you can only reload it if you complete the entire reload animation, which is a struggle to do with how fast fights play out this season. So if you miss a few shots because of the movement, or maybe your shots don't hit very hard because your opponent was dashing away from you, that's where the Gatekeeper really falls flat. And that's why, like, I think I prefer the Sovereign shotgun this season, even though I think the Gatekeeper is a better shotgun. It's just the way fights play out, the Sovereign works better, I think. Being able to reload 1 shell at a time. It has a fast fire rate, which is great for just spamming out shots. If you have the opportunity or range allows for it, you can aim in and hit, a harder shot typically, because the accuracy increase when aimed in is really good. This also helps with range in the jetpack fights. And so, yeah, just everything about how shotgun fights play out around the jetpack this season makes me prefer the Sovereign shotgun. For my AR, I'm still going to be using the Striker AR, and it's a very similar story where, like, if the jetpack wasn't in the game, I feel like there would be more decisions to be made here, and I would maybe be more inclined to use the burst. The burst still doesn't have the greatest aim assist feeling on controller, but with the recent changes Fortnite made to aim assist, it does feel a little bit better, especially with the hipfire. But I would still just much rather have the Striker AR because of how the fights play out around the jetpack. If I'm jetpacking around and my opponent is jetpacking around and we're just kind of like spraying each other, those fights, the Striker AR just feels very good in. Like, having a really fast fire rate works amazing in those situations. I feel like fights this season are just very fast paced and very scrappy, and having the fully automatic high fire rate AR, which still does great damage and has like very low recoil in my opinion, it just feels very good. I also like that if I do aim in for a slower Sovereign shot to maybe get more range or damage, then I can swap to the Striker AR and just like hip fire spray in the meantime. And the hip fire and the Striker AR is like kind of underrated. So personally, for me, with how fights play out around the jetpack, the Striker AR just feels great. If you like the burst, that's fine. I don't think there's a bad choice here. They're both very good. And then another possible choice that's very good is going to be the Iron Man combat kit or his gloves. This was added in yesterday's update, and there's going to be a lot of people that prefer to use this instead of an AR entirely, because it has like a pseudo lock-on effect when you're close enough to enemy players, and that makes it very easy to just spray them out in those jetpack fights. Like, with the jetpack, when you're fighting, you kind of have to worry about like hitting your own shots and making yourself unpredictable and hard to hit. But if you're using these Iron Man gloves, and you could just fly around and be as difficult to hit as possible, and you don't really have to worry about jeopardizing your own aim because the weapon basically locks on. So I think a lot of people are going to prefer to use the Iron Man combat kit over an AR, and I think that's a very valid choice, especially if you aren't very good at aiming while jetpacking. This is one of those things, though, where, like, I expect this to get nerfed. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but if you guys have been following Fortnite recently, it's like every item they add that's powerful gets nerfed. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Iron Man kit gets nerfed. The next two items are going to be our utility items. Earlier in the season, I really liked to run shield bubbles, but recently I've been using double mobility. The reason I've kind of gone away from the shield bubbles, and they're still good. If you like using the shield bubbles, that's fine. You can still use them. It's no problem. They didn't get worse or anything. But with the addition of the Shuri claws, I feel like a lot more players are using double mobility, so I kind of have to use double mobility to keep up with them. A lot of the items that I felt necessary to carry shield bubbles to counter earlier on in the season have gotten nerfed, like the Captain America shield and the War Machine arsenal. Those items have gotten nerfed. I feel like people don't use them as much, so I don't, and I've probably just personally gotten better at playing against them throughout the course of the season, like everybody has, and so I don't feel as much of a need to use shield bubbles anymore. You could still carry them if you want, and if I don't have double mobility yet, I'm happy to carry them, but it's just like not, I would rather have double mobility at this point, and that is going to be the War Machine hover jets and the Shuri Black Panther claws. If you guys don't know, the Shuri Black Panther claws, they're not the greatest mobility item on their own, because you could do this dash attack to get around the map, but you're supposed to only be able to do one dash, and then you have to land on the ground to do another one. But for some reason, with the War Machine hover jets, if you do a dash attack with the claws, which is just you jump and do the attack, and then you do a jetpack, so you double tap your jump button, and then it, for some reason, allows you to do the claws again. So I just jump, hit my attack with the claws, double tap my jump to do a jetpack, hit my attack with the claws again, double tap jump. It's an incredibly simple combination of buttons. It's not difficult in any way, shape, or form. But it's basically just the jetpack allows you to do multiple dashes with the Shuri claws, and that allows you to get around the map incredibly quickly. This is great for resetting fights. This is great for traveling around the map. It's great for chasing people. And if you have the ultimate ability up from the Shuri claws, which you can charge by sprinting with them out, you get unlimited stamina for a period of time, and that's going to allow you to do even more of these dashes even faster. So if you do get caught in a situation where you just have horrendous timing and you want to reset that fight, the Shuri claws work great for that. I found it to be pretty helpful when fighting Doctor Doom if I want to get out of certain situations. And then again, if players are trying to run from me and I want to chase them, that's another situation where, you know, being able to combine the War Machine hover jets and the Shuri Black Panther claws works really good. Another thing I really like about this item is that one of the kind of really inconvenient situations for the hover jets is anytime you're going uphill or going up a mountain. Like, just jetpacking up that feels so terrible, especially if you're trying to do jetpack dashes. But the combination of the Shuri Black Panther claws and the hover jets just allow you to quickly get up those mountains or get up that elevation and avoid that situation that would be like kind of detrimental for you. So if you like using mobility and being, you know, really annoying to fight, the Shuri Black Panther claws jetpack combination is great. And I've found that when fighting people that have one jetpack, like they only have one mobility item, if I use my double mobility to kind of like run away and look to turn the fight, they'll often run out of jetpack fuel chasing me. So this is one thing you can kind of do, is just like if someone's shooting at you and you don't like that fight, use your mobility. Hopefully they chase you. And if they overuse their jetpack chasing you, then you can just turn and fight them when they have no jetpack fuel. And it's going to catch a lot of players off guard because people are so used to fighting with the jetpack. So there's just so many reasons I like using the double mobility right now. I think it's very good. It's also very fun. The game's very fast. You might be asking why the Black Panther claws over the Iron Man item. And the main reason why I don't like the Iron Man item is if you get shot while using it, it kind of cancels it. And I really just dislike mobility that does that. Like, if you're, like I just talked about, everything I just kind of talked about, if the opponent shoots you once and that goes out the window, now you're just kind of stranded in an area that you didn't plan to be in. So, like, the fact that the Iron Man item is just countered by an enemy shooting at you, I think really holds the item back and really makes me not want to use it. If I just don't have any other mobility items, sure, I'm down to use it. But my preferred is going to be the War Machine hover jets and the Shuri Black Panther claws. If I am going to raft, I will take shockwaves in the meantime over the Black Panther claws, because I really like having shockwaves to like get out of the tight quarters and that POI if anybody catches me off guard. But for most of the time, I just like having the hover jets and the Black Panther claws. For heals in Chapter 5, it's really not that big of a deal to me. I usually just go with whatever one I find most. Flowberry Fizz does kind of combine well with the claws, so you will get more kind of distance or altitude from every jump you do, so that's something to maybe be considered. But for me, it's really just like Fizz, Big Pots, or Chug Splash, whichever one I find the most of. Obviously, if you're playing team game modes, Fizz and Splash have the added value of being able to heal teammates, but I think all the heals are good and it's really not that big of a deal. in chapter 5. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this to be helpful, informative, interesting as always. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.